Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Crash Couch. I am Chris, and today I'm once again joined by Joel. Joel, how are you?
I am great for whatever day it is today. Still a bit of a
It's a new
mystery.
year.
Yeah, it is a new year. That's right. Yes, happy 2021. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Please,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great.
And joining us for the first time this season, we have returning Laura. Laura, how are you?
I'm doing good. How's everyone doing today?
We are doing fine. Glad that you were here. Finally.
Glad to be here. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I have a weird schedule right now with the pandemic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard about it.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Is it some kind of protomolecule thing, right?
Yeah, it's going around. Yeah.
Oh, I think that I know that COVID is bad, but I think I would rather have that than the protomolecule. What do you guys think?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't want to sound like I'm condoning COVID. Yes, someone quote me on that. Laura wants COVID to happen. No. Between the two, yeah. I'm glad I'm not treating protomolecule or testing for it. Ugh. I don't know. I don't know what that would look like.
If we did have the protomolecule, maybe we would be able to travel in space. So maybe that'd be a good trade-off.
It's kind of a steep bargain there.
Yeah.
Or a steep price.
yes, but would there be bars in space? That's what I want to know. Someplace I can get a decent drink.
Asking the real questions. There we go.
I'm a very philosophical type guy, as you can probably tell.
I
That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
We are back this week to talk about season 5, episode 5, Down and Out of the Expanse. Laura, you haven't been on yet this season, so what are your thoughts on everything leading up to this point? How have you enjoyed the season so far?
I'm overwhelmed a bit. I mean, I knew it was coming going in, so I was kind of excited to see everyone's reactions, and then kind of was a little surprised by how much it affected me too. Still, because it's reading what happens in the book kind of messed me up. Seeing it on screen kind of still messed me up, even knowing it was going to happen. That's a whole, I don't want to say a new scale of atrocity, because the protomolecule kind of messed up a whole station's worth of people. But it's a real old school way to go back, we're throwing rocks. So I'm enjoying it, but I'm also very emotionally invested.
Yeah. And that's something that I never really thought of too until you really mentioned it. And I don't know if this is where you were going with it, but the way I took that is that a lot of the stuff that's happening now is happening to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And, before with the protomolecule, a lot of the, atrocities we were seeing was happening outside of the planet, and it really wasn't hitting close to home.
Yeah.
But now that we have these big meteor strikes hitting Earth and essentially wiping out entire locations, or at least as far as we can tell, that is just it's weird to think that it's not like Earth has ever been the primary setting, and it's not like Earth is the quote unquote good guys ever.
Yeah.
But it's just as weird to kind of go from 4 seasons of spacey stuff and Mars and gates to other worlds and other planets and all these other really sci-fi things, and then in the 5th season have a big thing happen to Earth, and it just is kind of brings you back from all of that.
Yeah. Well, that's one where we, as the audience, finally have a point of reference.
Yeah.
I'm I can connect to, human beings in general, and I can imagine my experience, in their shoes. But at this point, I'm I know what it's like to be on Earth, and then imagining that happening to me on Earth. Mm-hmm. It feels very more real.
Yes, all politics are local politics.
Yeah.
It makes quite the impact.
You just struck at the cradle of humanity too.
Yeah.
We think.
Like that's where we came from. Yeah, you don't see a lot of well, yeah.
No, kidding.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
That's the working theory, at least.
Exactly. Oh, wow.
Laura, what's been a standout character for you so far this season? I think I know who you're going to say, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Are we talking like new characters or just anyone?
It can just be anyone.
Because everyone's doing great. But I mean, I did just watch this last episode, and Dom is killing it.
Yep.
It's so painful to watch her. Not in a bad way, obviously. Just what she's going through, and she's doing it so well because it hurts so bad. And what Marco did to her, what like Marco manipulated her into. That's one thing too, where I know we're gonna learn more and more throughout the season, so try not to spoil any further.
Yeah, I had a feeling that's where you were going to go with it, and it's where I wanted to start too, because we praised her a lot in last week's episode for her acting and just the way that Naomi's storyline is going. And this week sort of just elevated that, and I was not prepared for it because we had so much good happen last week, not for the character, but for her as an actress. And then this week it just like took that to an even higher level. I was just not prepared for it. Seeing where Naomi is going at this point is just like, it just tugs at the heart.
Yeah, no, I literally just watched this again right before calling in. So I'm still very raw from the very end. Just watching her in the cell, muted.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. My girl.
I just love the fact that her nickname back in the day was Knuckles.
I know.
That's precious.
It feels very contrary to who she is, because it sounds like a violent nickname, and she's not at all.
Violent and dumb, right? It's like Stone Age, Neanderthal.
It sounds like an Amos nickname.
Ooh.
He's not dumb.
Don't tell Amos that.
He throws a good punch, though.
True.
I was really surprised when Philip intervened when she was going on the bridge to presumably stab Marco. I thought that's where we were going with it.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for something to happen. I just kind of really wasn't expecting Philip to, I'm assuming, kind of realize what she was about to do and then just intervene. That kind of I have this in the back of my mind. I know that most of, and I don't really want to, this is where I'm kind of conflicted because I have a hunch that most of Philip's actions are because of Marco, and in a normal situation, this is not how he would have, grown up to be. He wouldn't have grown up to be a sidekick to the
a terrorist. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I thought you said a turd at first.
That too. A little tourist. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
But my hope is that, maybe, I mean, obviously you can't just be he can't just suddenly turn on his father and think that, oh yeah, I'm a good guy now. All of my sins have been, taken away from me. But it would be kind of nice to see that maybe. Again, I don't know where this is going in the future, but that's my hope.
Yeah. I think that's very understandable that he would be conflicted, because he's been raised by his father and probably could see that, hopefully. Mm-hmm. I mean, also without spoiling anything that's coming. I mean, that what his father is doing is big, if anything, is hurting a lot of people, but it's his dad and he raised him, and there is that sort of loyalty to family, but also his mom, but also she abandoned him by all appearances. Well, she did. There's no getting around that. She has her reasons, and I don't begrudge her that, but yeah. So I can see why he's loyal to Marco right now, but also why Marco is probably confused why he saved his mother. She abandoned you, but that's his mom, bud.
Now, and this could be getting into future storyline territory, but why do they keep Naomi around? Like, is there a reason that they're just keeping her? Like, she's obviously doesn't want to be there. I can see maybe having the idea at the start. Well, okay, maybe we can just like try to bring her. Like, we'll keep her captive for some reason and then eventually just dump her because, obviously we don't care about her, even if we do have family reasons. But I feel like there's some reason that they're keeping her.
Yeah, pain and suffering.
It's safer to like have her there now that like they have her. And I think she was kind of just an unknown, like Philip showed up with her.
That's fair.
I think Marco is just being vindictive and making her suffer on purpose.
Yeah, petty. That could also, yeah. Yeah, honestly, Marco's kind of that kind of person.
I guess after watching her betray her old friend, I don't remember what his name was, and knock him out and then steal his phone or his transmitter, whatever you want to call it, real quick to send that message to Holden at the end about not starting the Rossi's reactor. I don't know. It makes me feel like that maybe they should have just kept her locked up the whole time, or because I would think this is something that they would see. That was
like a move that they didn't see coming. Because, again, I don't want to like spoil too much, but she's always been sort of nonviolent and ended up ditching them when they basically used her for violence. So I think they expected her to just be sort of docile.
I can't believe they let her have access to the coffee machine. What were they thinking?
Yeah, get her riled up.
Oh my God! By the way, that fellow, her friend, she knocked out. I believe his name was Levo, something like that. The older man with a tattoo.
That was Sin, I think, because it's like Sin and Carol.
Is it Sin?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
I know. I remember those two. Ask me any further than that, and I won't remember.
Yeah, I read a recap, and you are correct.
Yeah, no, I think they maybe didn't realize how much being away from them and for that long time and around her new family has maybe changed her and what she's willing to fight for now.
Yeah.
Because, she's very, like, anti-violence. Typically.
Well, that does make sense, too, because before I kind of had this thought when I was watching it the second time that maybe they assumed that she would be like not completely on board with, joining their side or like going along with them on the plan, but maybe a little more like, hey, we have a past. She won't do anything to us.
Yeah. Well, it might also just like she won't do anything to us, but it would be better to just keep her around.
Yeah.
So we know where she is. She can do more trouble when she's not like under our eye.
Yeah.
Because Marco sucks.
Yes, he does indeed suck.
Yeah, 0 to 10. Do not like that guy. I'm glad. Well, no, I'm not glad Marco did what he did. But after like season 4, there were some people like sympathetic to him, like knowing what he was about to do. I was like, no, we are not going to be sympathetic to Marco. That's not what we're doing. I can be sympathetic towards like the Belters' cause and the fact that they have been oppressed. And I can be sympathetic to being angry, not to genocide. That's a big like power imbalance there. He's killed millions. Yeah. Not down with that.
And we kind of get that too with Drummer at the very beginning of the episode where Marco essentially offers them a you're with us or against us type thing. And obviously they go and decide to meet him. And who knows if that's, I have a feeling that there's an ulterior motive to that. We'll see if, I end up being right. But you're right. You bring up an interesting point about how this is really, you see somebody finally really doing something for the Belters and wanting to, I guess, cement their place and their legacy in the rest of, the universe or the world. And it just is, you don't really think about how, like, there are plenty of other people out there that, probably want a little bit of respect compared to, everyone else, but they don't want to like kill a whole bunch of people. And it just, I don't know, it's that conflict. It's really interesting.
By doing that, he just kind of like put a target on every Belter too. So he just made decisions for everyone.
I think now you have the Bulgars still in their factions, and you have Drummer, and she's not marching to her own beat now. Yeah, she's been upstaged. And just going back on, the motivations, right? Marco and Aris, there's a couple lines said by Naomi's friend, right, who she hit over the head with, is that, they make us thirst for water. They make us grasp for air, right?
Yeah.
They're being oppressed. Now they're being oppressors. It's the whole thing is which one's better, being oppressed or being the oppressor? And I think that's a false dichotomy, mind you, but I think that's the balance of it.
Yeah. I think that there's other people to blame for creating the conditions that created Marco, but I do not think we should let Marco off the hook either. No. I think that's my problem, where it's like, well, he's reacting to this. I'm like, I know, but...
He's reacting in a very inappropriate way.
Yeah, I was like, you can't kill millions of people. That's bad. We don't do that.
But it's weird that in the current world too, just our own real life, it's easy to see how one person can just sort of shine above the rest and sort of take hold of a mindset when it comes to like having some kind of power, be it political power or social power. And Marco is really interesting to me in that regard, because just the way he's able to kind of use his plan and just build up to these moments and to this plan that he's had. Because, you can't just have your average Belter go and say, oh, I'm going to make this free navy and everything's going to belong to the Belters now. That's normally not how it would work, but it goes to show the type of character that Marco is, that he is able to do it and not kind of do it in a way that, unless you're somebody that knows where it's going and that's read the books, is not something that's totally put out there right from the start. Like it's sort of like just this slow moving plan that just finally accumulates in this.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is kind of telling that, there are a bunch of people that were like during season 4 found him like a sympathetic character because he's charismatic, he's pretty, which does help. But he's got good leadership qualities.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's kind of the flip side of Holden, like his evil twin, where he's just willing to make big decisions. He's just doing it a lot more recklessly.
He's a very effective cult leader, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? He's fanatical.
Yeah.
And it's a cult of personality.
Can just whip up a lot of fervor. You just got to do emotional override, get people really whipped up, and now they're down to do atrocities.
Yeah,
and he's capable of that.
And that's interesting because if you look at the history of, say, terrorist groups over the last 60, 70, 80 years, there's not been that many with a cult at the very center of it. You have cult, you have terrorist leaders, but you take the OPA, right, the Outer Planet Alliance. It's loosely based on the Irish Republican Army or the PLO, and these groups never had a main leader where people will have pictures of them on their wall, so to speak. Right? You get cult leaders when they win a revolution, like Joseph Stalin, right? Or examples of dictators in North Korea, or places like that, or after the revolution in Iran in 1979, right? But he's fighting this revolution, so he may, I see Marco being just a leader of a faction, but he's becoming a cult leader in a very cult of personality sense because he's winning.
Yeah,
and he's taking credit for it, and he's not running away from the camera. In fact, he's getting his messaging out there, and he's being bold and audacious. And he's also a genocidal maniac.
It's just got good branding.
One other question that I had, and this might be something that I just missed. How did Naomi know that the reactor in the Rossi was sabotaged?
So I feel like this is something that is probably going to be explained more in like the next episode or two, but they mentioned like the Gamara code.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think she realized once like Philip took her away after she tried to stab Marco into the elevator, said, you know, I saved your life. You should be glad I took you. And I think that's like when she realized like he saved her life by taking her away from the Rossi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And she knew what it is because she helped write that code.
Gotcha.
I think it's called the Augustin Gamera code. So it's a really fancy name. So
Yeah.
which is interesting because Augustin was a former, well, was in history was a Roman Empire after the Roman Civil War, and was very successful at unifying the empire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, I don't want to. It's really interesting and a really big reason why I hate Marco and what he did to Naomi. But I also feel like it's going to come up in like probably the next episode.
Yeah.
Because it just happened. But I really want to talk about it because I hate Marco and I love Naomi.
I do hope that we get more of that exploration here, because I do think that there's a lot that still needs to be said about these two characters and their history, and you know why they are the way they are, and I want to see that explored more.
Yeah, even without the like, not to discount this, that sounds reductive, but even without, you know, his whole weird cult he's leading, Marco was just personally a really crappy dude.
Mhm.
Like personally to Naomi was just a manipulative, abusive piece of crap.
Yeah. I think that's
Don't
putting
like
it
him.
nicely too.
I'm trying. That's me filtered.
So the other kind of big storyline we had in this episode was Amos in the pit, as everyone has been saying. I mean, I guess it is called the pit, but
Yeah.
everyone was like, one line was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait for the next episode because he's getting out of the pit." I'm like, okay, well, that's fun, I guess. I can't wait to see it. And wow, this one was good. This is the kind of story that I really wish that I could have temporarily paused and then went and actually read it in the book, and or like had it like put out in text form, because I felt like this would have been really just wonderful just to read. It's the kind of like adventure that I love in my action adventure stories, and just the way that it translated to screen. Even like I can already tell that it was cool in the book just because it was cool in the show. And I do wish I was able to read it first, but this one instance first. I'm glad I'm watching the show first before reading, but I loved this whole episode for him.
Yeah, to quote a line from the episode, that's how you do it. And let me just say this. I really like this scene and this sequence because it works on a metaphor level, right? Because they're in the pit, right? They're down and out. That's the name of the episode. Yet they're slowly climbing back out of the hole. And it works. And it's trying to get out from the elevator shaft because they don't want to get shafted, right? So it's kind of like it makes for a great
Layers.
prison escape. And it's a unorthodox, irregular prison escape because of the circumstances where they don't know what's happening on the surface. Oh, so good.
Yeah, I did really enjoy it in the book. To answer your question, Chris, it is really well written. It is a little, I was going to say like a little less chaotic at first, at least, when the rock hits near them, because like alarms just start going off and whatnot. But I really appreciate just kind of how Amos takes on the leader role there. You get to see a little bit of like what he's learned from Holden and being around them, and I think that's really sweet because he just like immediately takes charge, because that guard is supposed to be, you know, taking care of the prisoners, and she's just panicked, basically can't reach anyone, doesn't know what to do, and he's like, here's what we're gonna do, like how to get out of here. So I really enjoy seeing Amos get to come into his own too.
And I like that guard. Her character name was Rona, played by Natalie Brown.
I noticed that. I was like, Ouch.
And the
Too
fact
soon.
that she's a single mom, and she's working the prison because she needed a job, and just wants to make sure her child is safe afterwards. That's her ultimate motivation,
Yeah.
right? Yet
Yeah.
she still wants to do her duty, and it's Amos basically pushing her away emotionally, that she goes back to her central motivation, which is taking care of her child, trying to find what happened to her child when they reached the very top
Yeah.
of the elevator shaft.
Yeah.
I thought that was very well done.
I think that's far and away the more important thing. Like, Clarissa isn't going to be a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's all peaches and probably blood at this point. But yeah,
That was
No
a good
bigger
one,
a
Joel.
threat than like the rock that fell from the sky.
Yeah.
The rules have changed. It's fine. You can go find your kid.
Yeah, I think she had probably the most interesting character development that we get throughout the whole series when it comes to like just like a one-off episode, or like just appearing, one or two times just in the whole series. It just was really nice to see how, one of the characters that we are super familiar with, in this case Amos, can sort of have an effect on the people around him, and how, just because that just goes to show how much he's changed since the first season. Because if you remember, that he was just very sort of like the tough guy,
Mhm.
and we didn't know much about him, and he was sort of there just to kind of be the tank. And now he just has so many more layers to him, and especially this season. And it's so nice to see
Yeah.
him finally get his chance to shine and show the kind of influence he can have around him.
yeah, it's a tiny thing. And I say this with humor, of course, because was his real name when he was a child Timmy? And now we
Yep.
have Tiny, who's a psychopath in jail. But Timmy's not tiny. Timmy has grown, right? And has developed emotions and maturity that way, right? Emotional, like leadership qualities as well.
Yeah.
It's growing up. Well, I thought it was actually relevant within like the context that you got to see. I mean, I know they're not in Baltimore anymore in this one, but on Earth, I guess. How different he was from last time he was there.
I quite enjoy. I believe you pronounce it Konchak, the tiny guy, right?
Tiny, yeah.
Played by Boomer
Still
Phillips
tiny.
is the actor who played him. I just love this. Like as a jerk,
I
he
wanna
played a
know-
jerk well. Okay.
Oh yeah, I want to know where he's from. I should look it up. I should have looked.
From Canada, I believe. Many Canadian
Okay,
actors.
I was gonna say either Canadian or like Midwest U.S. because like the first line in an episode where he's like busts out of his cell, I was like, that was just an aggressively like Canadian or like Midwest accent
Yeah,
or
I'm
something.
sorry. I think he was educated in Texas. I just looked it up, but I know he's did a lot of acting in Canada. But yeah,
Okay.
he's been around. And
Well, either way, like it sounded like very. My Minnesota senses tingled. It's like it sounds like my uncle busted out a person.
that's he is an actor on Letterkenny. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, yeah.
And he plays.
that-
He was in Goon, the movie Goon. If you remember
Nice.
that hockey movie, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes more sense now.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
That was. Yep. Yeah, he just bust out like, so what's new? I was like, oh, bud, what's up?
I also really like the fact that we have this thing going on where he's in the Konchak character, the big thug. He's in jail and he's pounding on the door after the asteroid hits and says, "I got rights. I got rights."
I know.
You got rights.
You do.
Yeah. But in circumstances where the government has lost control because of an attack or this horrendous circumstances, do you really have rights? Well, in theory, you do, but in reality, in practice, not so much.
Well, it's all lawless now.
Yeah.
Also, to be fair, I don't think they knew quite what had happened at that point.
Yeah, exactly. But then later on in the episode, we have the line from Bull on Tycho Station, right? Okay, about due process. Due process on the station is what I say it is.
Yeah.
So you have rights, you have due process. You see how the rule of law is breaking down?
Yeah.
And bad things
Scary.
happen without the rule of law. Really, the subtle, like philosophical observations are being made in this episode. I quite enjoy it.
Well, it's just people in power who like feel like they can do what they got to do, and it's like, we still got to follow some rules here. Still need some structure.
I was super happy with the little fight scene we got once they got to the top of the elevator shaft and got to see that they were actually, in essentially a blown up building. Whenever they had the little showdown and Tiny ends up getting shot and Amos just kicks him in the nuts and just throws him off into the shaft was just wonderful.
Like, oh, I got scared though because it looked like he was about to go down too, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, that wasn't in the book. Don't you dare.
It was a bit of a downer, but it was an awesome fight scene.
I know. Oh, I was like, that. You guys had to have seen that coming though. Like,
Yeah.
you were his prison guards.
Yeah.
There's no way he like got up there and was like, no, it's chill.
Yeah. And yet you have Clarissa, right? Peaches. She's powerless. She's tried to use her strengths, but she was on meds and she can do anything. Completely and utterly useless to what's going around
like
her in the scene, in the world.
a good little twist too, because every other time in the series when she's done that, she's like destroyed, like changed what was happening around her, and this time she just like tries to do it and collapses and everyone else has to do it. I was like, that's a good way to showcase that she is down and out.
Yeah. And maybe she's improving. Maybe she's rising to the occasion from an emotional point of view, right? Or at least from a maturity point of view.
I hope so. I hope we're having everyone's growing.
Exactly.
I like the fact that when you saw Clarissa's, I think it zoomed in on her eyes, and you kind of saw that she was about to like sort of go into her mode, and she ended up not having to use it, was a little bit of foreshadowing, I think, but also it was just nice that she didn't have to do that. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just liked how all of our characters kind of got to combine to defeat the enemy.
Yeah, no, I think that was a good way to show like where Clarissa is at this point. Yeah. And probably going forward. She's not what she was before.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, I mean.
And then, of course, after all of this, we have we end sort of on a cliffhanger. We have Alex and Bobby decide, or they find out that the weapons that is being handed over to Marco is actually the frigates for the Free Navy, and that kind of like, I guess I should have expected it in hindsight, but that was a little bit of a shock to me that they would just kind of trade those over. But again, it's something we've sort of known all season, but it's fully confirmed now. And then obviously, now they're going in without their core. That's where the episode ends. But it just is really interesting that Marco's kind of like really using all resources available at this point.
Yeah, it was a fleeting moment. Hey, can I just say something? At least at the end of this episode, we saw crash couches being used. It's been a while, guys.
Yeah.
Yay!
I know.
The crash couch or crash couches.
Used. Yeah. Used to capacity. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some bones being pulped in those boys.
Yeah, they really put a lot of juice in that. Amazing.
I know. Oh. I can't believe I saw it like on my screen. Like Joel raised his hand. I was like, okay, I'll wait. Can't believe I waited for that.
Sorry. Sometimes when there's a pun, you gotta make it. You gotta strike when it's really like when it's hot, or the pun's not gonna work. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. That was good. Yeah. No, I think you're gonna see the Free Navy go in a pretty wild way.
Yeah. I'm hopeful that we kind of see this like big let's use all of our budget on this one CGI scene at some point in the show.
Yeah.
Just so we can prove a point to Joel, first of all.
Every episode I get criticized. Every episode. So be it. It's all about the entertainment. Okay. Yeah, so the Martian ship was the Barkeith, and the other two destroyers or frigates. Yeah. And I like the fact that Bobby and Alex actually found out what was happening, and they sent, or they're trying to send a message to Avasarala, right? So they're playing a vital role in the plot development, and we'll see what happens.
Stuff is gonna go down. I can tell you that. No spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
This is just sort of a just for my own sake question, but where are we at in terms of like books? Like what book are we on right now?
Book 5.
Okay, and which one is that?
I couldn't tell you. Nemesis Games.
Nemesis Games, got it.
I couldn't tell you like how far because things are kind of going like all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how. I mean, I know this has been discussed over and over everywhere, but how far like they take it now that it's going to be 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Since I'm here now to say it.
Yeah, and they say it's 6 seasons, but they may change their minds. It could be 9 seasons. Who knows?
Yeah. I made a comment, and it was supposed to be a joke. I was like, "What if they just cram like the last 3 books into the last season? Just like go absolute breakneck speed." They're like, "That would be bad." I was like, "I know it'd be bad. It'd be very bad. Don't do it. It would be hilarious though. Each episode would be like overwhelming."
Mm-hmm. Well, Laura, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, you haven't really been around since last season, and we've had the announcement that the Expanse will end with season 6. What do you think of that? Since you're a book reader.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sad. I was really excited to see how they would make like the storyline from books 7 through 9. I mean, obviously I haven't read 9, but just kind of extrapolating from, the storyline so far, how they would make that work on screen, because there is some absolutely buck wild stuff that happens. So I wanted to see that on screen because I was curious, and obviously I love the story, but I'm guessing like if there's anywhere to stop that besides like the very end, book 6 is the way to do it, because it's right before there's like a big time jump. Not to spoil stuff, but time happens.
Yeah, I kind of got that vibe from people talking about it online, that there is a good reason to stop with book 6, and that there was a time jump. So I don't think that's too much of a spoiler.
I mean, I'm sad that it's not going to go through that, obviously, but I'm glad at least to have a show where the end is, what's coming and when it's coming, and you have enough time to write it in.
Yeah.
Because I would rather have a good ending than just have it cut off out of nowhere.
Yeah. Like, just imagine if season 3 was the last season that we got. I mean, that'd be terrible.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been like the worst, but it would have been pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, I'd say the worst, because then I wouldn't get to see like 4 and 5 so far. And they're so good. Knowing what I know now, the worst.
Yeah, and I that's another thing we talked about a little bit a couple weeks ago, but it just is nice that we're going to be able to get a conclusion, and it's not one that it's going to be rushed, and they have literally the rest of the season and then an entire season itself to write out and to make sure that they get it right, and they've done it excellently for 5 seasons, and I have no doubt in my mind that the 6th season will be the same. And since the fact that the authors are involved so heavily, and you have an excellent showrunner and an excellent writing team, it's just I have no doubt that we'll have a satisfying conclusion to the show. And I think they've said on Twitter that just because The Expanse ends with season 6 doesn't mean that later they can't go back and retell, or they can't go back and tell the stories from books 7 through 9.
Yeah.
So,
well, I said that too. I was like, maybe they're just going to wait the like amount of time that passes between the books in real time. Yeah. Just feel like we're just going to wait 10 years for the actors to age, and then we'll go back. See you guys later.
Wow.
Just to commit to it. Like, no, we're not going to age them. with makeup. We're going to age them real time. Well, I think like book 6 was a good place to end if you're going to end somewhere.
Yeah.
Because, it kind of wraps up a lot of stuff before something else, a new player sort of jumps in and takes over. And it's not like a completely new out of nowhere. It's definitely the groundwork's been laid down, but I guess you just have to read the books.
Yep. Hey, and that will give me a reason to actually want to go and read the books once season 6 is done, because I want to know not only all the differences and stuff that's gone on in this whole series, but what happens after the fact.
Yeah, it's wild. I'm so ready for book 9, but also not, because that's like the actual end for me, and I'm more sad about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want it to keep going just for the sake of content. I'm glad that it's like they had an end in mind when they started it.
And it'll be like, what, 10 years since the first book, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
First one was like 2011-ish.
I'm pretty sure, because I wanted to see, because I was looking at, I've borrowed my books out multiple times. My copy of Leviathan Winks is a little tattered. I have spilled coffee on it. I think twice. It's a first edition though, because I was like, how old is this thing? And it was 2011.
Gotcha.
I was like, okay, so it's not like just me. It's just an old book now. But also me, I didn't help it. I was like, this one's for Holden, and I just spilled coffee on my book.
Yeah, I think Holden would be proud of you in that. He would not judge you.
Yeah. Then I used my book to smash a coffee machine open.
Well, do you guys have any closing thoughts before we end this episode?
Well, I can't wait for the next one. So that's going to be amazing, right?
Show good.
Yes, and the next one is going to be called Tribes. Tribes. And it's dropping soon. Very soon.
Oh, yeah. God, I cannot keep track of the days right now.
Yeah, I know that the episode has been coming out pretty much on Tuesday nights for us here in the U.S. And it's just so nice because I can come home and just watch it, or kind of expect it and just watch it and not have to deal with so many people talking about spoilers, and it's just great. Yeah. And the community is pretty good about their spoiler tagging too, unlike the Star Wars fandom. So it is very nice to have that. But I think that's about it.
I think we got everything. I'm looking at stuff I wrote down. Yep. That's about it.
Cool. Well, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow the podcast at Crash Couch. I am on Twitter at The Curse of Chris. Joel, where are you online?
I'm on Twitter under the name Joel_Welch, WELCH. It just happens to be my real name.
Just happens.
What a coincidence.
Who knew?
Wow.
And Laura, what is your Twitter handle these days? I hope it's not Laura anymore.
Yeah. Who even knows? I've been trying to keep it now, so I don't forget, honestly. It's at Laura Donut. Donut. Also my real name. What a coincidence.
Oh, and Joel, what is the name of that little podcast that you do?
Oh, yeah. I do a little quirky podcast called the SciFi Pubcast with a few folks. It comes out every couple of weeks. So the SciFi Pubcast. It's available on your podcatcher of choice. I upload our Talking Heads usually a couple of days after on YouTube. And we're on social media. So there you go. Tune in.
Cool.
Come visit the pub.
And I do want to say, just so people know, that Joel also uploads episodes of The Crash Couch to his YouTube channel, the SciFi Pubcast YouTube channel. So if you are someone that likes to listen to the show in a non-traditional manner, you can also find it on YouTube.
And that's just audio only. It's not our Talking Heads, but you can listen to the audio on YouTube and do stuff around your house. That's what I usually do when I watch YouTube.
There you go. All right. Well, we will be back next week for episode 6. So until then, take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.